Welcome to Marketing Happy Hour, a weekly podcast helping marketing professionals and entrepreneurs build better strategies and hit career goals. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Allie. We're marketers and your hosts through these unfiltered convos with your peers and experts in the space.
Let's dive in. Grab your favorite drink and let's get to this week's episode. Today, Allie and I are joined by Elizabeth Thompson, Senior Social Media Manager at National Geographic. I am so stoked about this episode. We were talking off record that I just attended Digital Summit and heard a session from two team members from the Nat Geo team. So just excited to, Elizabeth, meet you, dive more into your experience as well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat today. Big fans of the pod, so very happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, we are big fans of everything that you all do as well, and just excited to become a fan of you too, like hear your journey and what you're working on and just everything. But first, we have to kick off with, I just want to know what's been in your glass lately.
Oh my gosh. So right now, since it's early afternoon, I have my go-to Diet Coke. It's so good. And it's become such a habit for me that at Nat Geo, the whole social team, between 1 and 3 p.m., if I don't have a Diet Coke in hand, someone's checking on me. Have you had your Diet Coke today? This is a staple. But yes, always have my water with me as well. Hydration's important, but typical go-to happy hour order, I've definitely been into a skinny spicy marg lately. Ooh. Or a dirty martini with jalapeno brine and blue cheese stuffed olives. So a little diverse there. Yeah.
The jalapeno brine is so fun.
I like spice. I like the spiciness.
I love it. I do have to ask, have you tried the new Diet Coke with lime from Target? Have you gotten the cans? Are you a fan?
No, but I'm on a mission to go and get that and try it. I remember when lime Diet Coke was, we have a visitor, Salem, my cat.
Oh, we're big cat people.
He realized, he's like, we're recording. Let me get in the frame. A little attention seeker, but I am on a mission to try it because I'm a big lime girl too. So
you'll love it.
I'm gonna love it.
You absolutely will. Well, Elizabeth, so excited to have you. Would love for you to walk us through your career journey, how you landed at Nat Geo, and just tell us more about your role there.
Yeah. So honestly, I'm gonna take you guys back to my childhood days. I feel like a lot of how I grew up is so ingrained in who I am today and what I do at work even. So I've always had a passion for adventure, exploration, travel. I grew up an Army brat, so connecting with other people was always so important to me as I moved around and tried to make new friends. I was also just very chronically online and very in tune with pop culture and what was going on in the world. Also just growing up during the boom of social, coding away in my MySpace days. So that's a lot of what my childhood was like. And then fast forward to my undergrad, I knew I wanted to work in the umbrella of PR, broadcast journalism, marketing, advertising, something in that space, but I wasn't exactly sure what. And so I had internships kind of spanning all of these things, having different experiences. And I just loved so much, but I couldn't figure out what exactly I wanted to do. So I ultimately decided to move to Germany to get my master's. And while I was there, I also got an internship at Stars and Stripes, which is a global publisher that serves the U.S. military community. And as an Army brat growing up, Stars and Stripes was always a part of my world. So I was very excited for that opportunity. And eventually, throughout my internship, I got a full-time job as a content producer where I really focused on digital and print lifestyle content strategies. And then somehow, I honestly couldn't tell you the moment, some social media marketing responsibilities fell into my lap. And that's when I was ooh, okay, I also like the marketing of the content and connecting with audiences. And then from there, I moved from Germany to the DC area and transferred to Stars and Stripes headquarters in DC. And I moved into the digital marketing department where I led global social and digital marketing strategies. And this is also the time where I'm uncovering more and more all right, I really like social media. And I started my own freelance business and I created social content strategies and just created content for a suite of small businesses. And this is where I was okay, I want to just be in social only. I was toggling between like, just do I go all in on my business or do I find like that dream role? Enter National Geographic. So I started with Nat Geo back in 2022. And I started as a manager overseeing strategy for Instagram and TikTok. And then over time, my scope expanded the last like year and a half to 7 different platforms, owning strategy for the core brand accounts and also the newly revamped UGC fueled Nat Geo Your Shot Instagram account. And a big part of my team and I's goals are really driving audience acquisition. So our social audience to natgeo.com to read our amazing editorial storytelling. It's also elevating our TV titles, driving people to Disney Plus and Hulu to watch these shows and documentaries. And because we lead brand strategy, we have to like elevate the full 360 story of Nat Geo, right? So like expeditions and books and so many entry points of the brand. All right, Salem's gonna peace out. Okay, there he goes. He was done with me. So yeah, it's a big part of our day-to-day is just really elevating the whole brand and supporting all these various lines of businesses and the work of our amazing explorers and photographers. And then I truly can't go without shouting out my own team, Sonia Matal and Adriana Sanchez. Like without them, I could not do what we do every day to support this amazing brand and the entire social team and our partners. But specifically, I would say in the last like 2 years, we really focused on how are we going to make a 137-year-old brand like culturally relevant, and reach newer generations. So it really was under the vision and leadership of our VP, Tulani Andre, who's like, chef's kiss. I'm not just saying that. Like she is such a force in the social space. I'm very, very grateful for her. And she really has pioneered how we approach social media in this world and just like entering conversations in a more engaging and social first way than we ever had before. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, my journey, what we do at Nat Geo. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, you already mentioned legacy, right? And so I'm just curious, like as you are bringing more creators and talent into the fold to work with them to develop content for your pages, how are you balancing their tone, their brands, their vision with this legacy identity, right? Like how are you kind of balancing the new with the old essentially? I'm just very curious to hear about that.
Oh yeah, I love that question. I think when it comes to working with talent, you have to understand that like you have to marry their world with the brand's world. And so what I mean by that is anytime we're working with talent, like what are they known for? What does their audience love the most about them? And how can we bring that into what people know and love about National Geographic? It's really marrying those two worlds together that I think is what has created the best social content for our campaigns, working with talent and creators. I think also too is being adaptable to your approach for campaigns. So for example, the way we work with like a high profile celebrity versus a creator versus a campaign for an editorial franchise or a TV title, like it's very different and you have to be adaptable to the moment. I think also collaboration is super important as well when it's working with like celebrity talent or creators, ensuring that the brief or the idea is something in their wheelhouse, they're comfortable with it, but they also have creative freedom as well. And I think when it comes to injecting that new, like you mentioned, into something legacy, if they have an unexpected idea or something different, I think it's so important to be open to that, even if it's a place that's unfamiliar for the brand. But of course, it's still at its core is in line with the brand's values and missions and like the overarching strategy, of course. So it really is just that marriage of the two worlds, being adaptable and being collaborative with the talent.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think so important for other brands to hear kind of how you approach that. I'm curious from a process standpoint, what does the process look like when you and your team are identifying a cultural or trending moment worth reacting to from the Nat Geo brand perspective? And when is it better to sit out?
Yes. Oh man. It's so hard because I feel like anytime I see a trend, I'm like, let's do it. But you
I
really
know.
I know. Or I just see my own trends. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just hop on my own trend and do it on my own TikTok or something. I'm just so chronically online. It's probably unhealthy. But from a brand perspective, really what my team and I are thinking about is relevance, resonance, and risk. Like, is it relevant to the brand? Is it in our wheelhouse? Is it something that we have a natural tie or way in? Or even if it's unexpected, is it unexpected in a good way? I think also when it comes to resonance, is this something that's going to make someone laugh, bring them joy, make them think about the world differently? Is this, does this have high shareability? Like, is this going to end up in the DMs, in the group chat? Because that's what we want to do. We want to show up in these spaces with people. And then risk, I think obviously if it's going to be detrimental or paint the brand in a negative light, we just don't go there. Also anything that goes against like legal guidance, obviously we stay clear from. One example is like we can't use trending audios. So if a trend is reliant on that sound, we just either have to find a different clever way in, which we have done before, or we just don't enter it. So I think that's like the overall framework and process that we use. But I think another key thing is like collaboration. Something that I'm always adamant about is that even though we're the social team, ideas and pitches and ways into these zeitgeist moments or cultural moments can come from anyone, any department. So really try to establish a environment where anyone can feel like they can pitch an idea to the social team and like be a part of the brainstorm and the conception of the actual asset, because we all have different For You pages. We all have our own corners of the internet. And like what I'm seeing on mine might be very different than what you're seeing on yours. So I think collaboration is so important as well into identifying the right moments to jump on that could be like really unexpected and fun for the brand.
Yeah. During the session at the conference, there were a lot of stories like that where even with creators, they were like, yeah, I mean, we work with agencies, but some of our best collaborations have come out of just some of our fellow teammates, like
Yep.
sharing a creator to collaborate with because it's on their feeds and they're kind of consuming that kind of content. And so I think you're exactly right. From a leadership standpoint, making sure you're fostering that environment for the team to share ideas, but also as a professional, like don't be afraid to speak up and contribute and share why too. I think that's the biggest thing is yes, the idea is great, but why are you sharing that specific idea? What's that data to back it or the concept to back that idea too? So
Yeah. And
I
I
love
think
that.
too, especially like nurturing like younger members, right? I
Mhm.
think something that is so engaging and entertaining to them may just be totally different. I think it's understanding that so many people have different tastes, and even though it might not be your cup of tea, it could be somebody else's. And we have to just be open to creative ideas. I guess too, at the time of this recording, it hasn't come out yet, but I think when this comes out, it'll be out there. But someone on my team, Sonia, she really wanted to do this idea with me being in a shark like costume, and we've never really done anything like that, at least on like the brand pages. So that's coming out, but like she had this idea. We want to make it fun and silly and just different, but it's still on brand, still Nat Geo and playful, but it is very different than what we've done before. And I think not only does it really drive engagement and increase brand love, but I think also it creates a really good positive atmosphere in the workplace and like overall boosting morale for anyone, again, on the social team or not, to like have this creative outlet to pitch these ideas to really anchor the brand and cultural relevance.
Yeah, I love the idea too of allowing the team to actually have buy-in into that
Yeah.
content
Oh, yeah.
where necessary. So that's so fun. I'm curious too on the metric side. How do you balance that short-term performance metric request, like an engagement spike or like likes on a post or whatever it is, with that long-term brand affinity and trust? How are you kind of looking at content now in terms of a performance standpoint? I know these algorithms are shifting so rapidly and what we're checking can change depending on the campaign or depending on the objective, but just curious how you're approaching data.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely like engagements, impressions are and audience sentiment are like the biggest and most important metrics we're really looking at in terms of like what's really sticking with our audience. I think when it comes to these like engagement plays or spikes, that's very important to have as part of your strategy, but also having an always on strategy is really, really critical. you can't have one without the other. Like they both go hand in hand. So that always on strategy, like that's the content your audience is like expecting from you. It's data back, they engage with it the most. And that's like feeding the day to day. And then the more engagement spike or like engagement play moments are really going to be the cultural conversations, the trends, just the social first, like really native content, and having a healthy cadence of that pipeline as well. So I think it's like, yes, have the engagement plays to drive connection, be top of mind for people, show you're involved in internet culture, but still have that always on to drive that brand affinity and trust. Again, they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So both are very much equally important for us in Nat Geo.
Yeah, for sure. And you already mentioned Nat Geo Your Shot, that page that you all have. UGC is obviously very important, allowing, the audience and fans to have a platform and an opportunity to be a part of a strategy or a campaign or what have you. So what role does a page like that, or just UGC in general, play in maintaining authenticity and community at Nat Geo?
Yeah, I mean, I think just UGC in general is so important to community and authenticity because it really invites your audience to feel like they're a part of the brand. I think for Nat Geo Your Shot specifically, we really reimagined it this last year and a half or so. And for those who don't know, like Nat Geo Your Shot is this account where a community of up and coming kind of beginner visual storytellers, photographers, videographers, up to like experts in their craft can share their work through our hashtag challenges. So like kind of creative prompts. And I think it's so important that we've really reimagined this space because not only are we highlighting beautiful work, which is very National and Geographic, but we're inviting this audience into it and to be a part of it. Oftentimes people will say like, oh my gosh, you work at Nat Geo. I've always wanted to be a Nat Geo photographer when I grew up. And this account really is like delivering that. It really makes the brand feel more attainable. And I think even beyond the UGC for Nat Geo Your Shot, Adriana Sanchez and my team really led this initiative of reimagining it, revamping the community to be a space where we're highlighting this UGC work, but it's also a resource for this community. So we're sharing photography tips from some of our most iconic Nat Geo photographers and like how to take underwater photos or how to photograph these upcoming night sky events. And so this account specifically really creates a space for the community to highlight their work, but then also to grow in their craft. And I think that really ties back to authenticity and like the space that we're really trying to create for these visual storytellers.
That's incredible. I think Cass and I are both aspiring photographers in our own right, and
Yeah.
just thinking about the taking my camera to Hawaii and Japan, and kind of thinking about Nat Geo as a result of that, and being like, oh, it's so cool. This reminds me of a shot that I've seen in Nat Geo, and I just speaking from my own personal experience, and just that is such a cool way to connect with the community and really different, I think, and a differentiator for Nat Geo for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. Okay, you have to submit to Nat Geo Your Shot.
I know, I know.
Mhm.
We absolutely will. Both of us will. And I think, Nat Geo is obviously incredibly large. It's very matrixed. You're working cross-functionally with so many different peoples, from EPs to filmmakers, editorial team, sales teams. What is your approach, and what can you share with us about how you can keep social strategy and creative aligned across all of those different stakeholders?
Yes, it's such a great question. My approach really is transparency and communication and flexibility. So when it comes to that transparency and communication with these partners, it's all about anytime there's a shift in strategy or there's a new platform feature or we're adapting or revamping tone and voice for something, we're always proactively communicating that to our partners. That way, when we're in meetings advising on a certain approach for social to elevate a campaign or project they're working on, they're fully aware of where this advisement's coming from. So that transparency and communication is absolutely critical. With that said, though, I think flexibility is just as important. Like you can have a very structured social strategy, but to be a good partner, especially across a matrix organization, you have to be flexible with that strategy and be able to bend your rules, if you will, to meet your partners where they are. I think what I really learned is that, especially working at a matrix organization, is that there's so many layers. So oftentimes when partners are coming to us with an ask or request about how to use a collab feature with so and so, or how many posts can we get out to really elevate or amplify something, it's also coming from a suite of partners that they have, whether it's talent or other external factors. And so it's also just meeting people where they are, leading with empathy and understanding, and try to get to like a yes and scenario versus like just going in with a hard no, because like this is how the strategy is. So I really learned like, yes, you can have your strategy, but you have to allow that flexibility to meet your partners where they are, and ultimately strengthening that trust and connection with these partners is only going to elevate your social strategy and the brand even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, I think it poses communication challenges, right? We have to over communicate, we have to clarify, we have to build relationships with other partners to really understand, what makes them tick and how do they communicate versus these other partners. So, any tips on communication too, because that's obviously a big skill in marketing, just to be on top of communication, making sure you are clear with partners and over communicating, if I want to say that word again, over communicating different details. So yeah, just curious, like any other strategies that you recommend or just tips for building those skills.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think for us, what is very important is having frequent touch points already on the calendars, whether that's a weekly meeting, a monthly, a quarterly, whatever it may be. Specifically for the social team in Nat Geo, we all have our like day-to-day partners we're working with, whether we sit more on the editorial side or synergy side to amplify more of like the Walt Disney Company or our TV title side. So everyone kind of has their day-to-day stakeholders, but something that we specifically do is host a monthly meeting where we're just sharing with all of our partners like the biggest priorities coming up, a look back at performance, and really create a space and dialogue of what's coming, what worked, what didn't work in the past, how we're shifting, and just establishing that trust. So I think like meeting frequently is very critical. I would say also when there are major shifts in something, like if it's something that's going to impact an upcoming campaign or project, you don't have to necessarily wait for those touch point meetings. Like take it upon yourself to be proactive and email or send a Slack to these partners to give a heads up. I think is also really important. But again, I think just always having that top of mind so no one is surprised is the best way to go about that proactive communication, because often what I have found is that sometimes people are hesitant to like admit they don't know everything about social media, or even if they are comfortable with that, it's still just something that feels so otherworldly to them, and like how we promote our TV titles or editorial storytelling, whatever it may be. And so when you knowledge share with them, it really helps them feel more confident in themselves, but then also helps build that trust with you too.
Yeah, yeah, great tips. I love the idea, especially if you're in an organization where there are so many different departments and brands that you're communicating with, to do that monthly touch base. Just how can we support one another and what
Yeah.
we're building and growing. So
It's
that's
huge.
yeah, of course, have to talk about AI for a minute.
Mhm.
We're in this age where AI is evolving very quickly. Algorithms are shifting pretty much every single day. What just kind of like creative and overall social principles do you think will always be timeless in your work? Is there anything that comes to mind there?
So I think the things that will always be timeless are first is authenticity. So I think audiences can really tell immediately when something feels like it's made for them in mind versus it's a brand kind of shoving their bottom line down their throats. So ensuring that your approach to social is authentic is going to continue to be timeless. I think the second thing is connection and community. So when we think about why social was created in the first place, people to connect with family and friends, then obviously brands entered that conversation or that world as well. So I think for brands to continue to keep that connection and community top of mind, whether it's through the content they're creating, community management efforts, UGC efforts, that's going to continue to stand the test of time in social. And then it's less of a creative tactic, but more of a strategic one is I think adaptability. And what I mean by that is platforms are going to continue to come and go. I think algorithms are obviously going to continue shifting, new features are going to pop up. And as social media marketers, it's critical for us to stay on top of that and figure out when to lean in or when to at least experiment and try a lot of these features. So for example, if we know that carousels get served twice in feed, lean into that to increase your reach. If we know that adding audio to your carousel is going to help you go into the Reels tab, which Instagram's prioritizing, lean into that. And so whatever those features are going to continue to be and evolve and get grow to be, it's important as marketers for us to be adaptable in those spaces and just always be ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of with that too, another question, how are you personally staying on top of just trends and changes and just the space in general? Because again, not only the algorithm, there's so many different things happening, even just with a consumer standpoint, the behaviors there, like how are you personally staying on top of things in our ecosystem?
Yeah, honestly, I think part of it is my chronically onlineness,
Yeah.
and just like being on social all the
Yeah.
time. I think also though, just like really key industry forward resources, right? So newsletters, podcasts such as y'all's, or following the heads of these platforms, right? I think Adam from Instagram does a fantastic job of really ensuring that he's communicating all the newest updates to Instagram. And it's almost like Christmas morning when he does that. And I'm like, yes, got it. I sent it to like the whole social team and Nat Geo or someone else in the team. We're like, all right, guys, how are we gonna like lean into this? And we try it out. If it sticks, and that's great. And we're ahead of it. If it's kind of a blip in the moment, it's a blip in the moment. But I think just leaning into those industry experts, thought leaders, the resources, newsletters and podcasts, or whatever medium that you like to receive information is really key to stay ahead of the curve there.
Yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth, this has been fantastic. I feel like, again, we could ask you a million questions. We'll have to have you back to do a check-in.
Yes.
But in the meantime, please tell us what channels should we be following? How can we connect with you personally? Give us all the details there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you first again for having me. It's been so much fun. Definitely could talk for hours about social. In terms of connecting, I definitely connect with me on LinkedIn, Elizabeth Thompson, Senior Manager of Social at Nat Geo. Also, you can find me on Instagram, Elizabeth Thompson. I don't post a ton about like work and social there. Sometimes some behind the scenes stuff of what's happening at HQ or when we're out creating social content. But it's mostly my dogs and my cat. So if you're into that, follow me.
More Salem, more Salem.
Yeah, more Salem cameos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously would love for anyone who isn't already following Nat Geo. We also have amazing verticals across platforms for something for everyone: Nat Geo history, science, TV, docs, animals, you name it. So yeah, just watch this space, watch Nat Geo space, and more exciting things to come.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We'll have all of those channels linked below, so definitely check those out. But Elizabeth, really appreciate you taking the time today and just sharing your experience, but also all things Nat Geo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fun. All right, until next time.
Yes. We'll see you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Marketing Happy Hour.
If you enjoyed it, make sure you're subscribed to the show and sign up for our weekly newsletter with insights and marketing resources.
We also invite you to check out the MHH Collective, our community for marketers looking to connect, grow, and learn together.
Check out the links in the show notes. We'll see you next time.